Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery. Before I go any further, if you could please subscribe down below. Lots of videos going up, multiple videos a week, videos by Rob, myself, other moderators covering different types of fears and topics, just ways to live life unconditionally, self-life and other acceptance, through the teachings of Dr. Albert Ellis from the books on the reading list. I have a little guest with me today. You know, little Daisy over here. She's all nice and relaxed. Took her for a nice walk this morning around one of the state parks before I saw patients. So what I wanted to talk about today is how I overcame multiple adversities throughout the beginning stages of my OCD recovery journey and before I even started my OCD recovery journey. So this time frame is about an 18-month period, to say the absolute least. I'm going to just minimize this. So in the beginning, I was, as many as you know, I was getting my doctorate of chiropractic. This was about midway through 2019 when I woke up one night with really, really bad tinnitus/tinnitus in my ear, ringing really bad. I had no idea at the time that this was developing into a really, really, really bad compulsive behavior. I was checking vents. I kept asking my wife, do you hear those sounds or is it just me? I was doing all these avoidance behaviors. I remember even the sound of a knife hitting the plate was actually driving me into a full-blown panic attack. Now, at the time, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know I had OCD. I had really, 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 really bad fear of body dysmorphia without even knowing that's what I had, and fear of not, basically just only accepting myself conditionally. And it was not good for an extended period of time. I had to take national boards. Just to give you an example of what it was like to take national boards when somatic OCD latched, because it latched about 3 to 4 months after I fully recovered from tinnitus, from just realizing. The good thing for me is I realized when going through tinnitus that me being afraid of the sound was the main reason why it was fully latched. And I didn't even know Rob at the time. So somatic OCD latched, I found Rob, and so I had to take national boards. National boards for getting your doctor of chiropractic is 5 parts. The last part was 25 live rooms with doctors in each room. Each room was 5 minutes, and then you had a minute between each room, basically. Clinical questions, diagnostic rooms, and stuff like that. Fully lashed with chronic anxiety and absolutely just terrified of my blinking and my saliva. Terrified. I have no idea how I passed my test, to be completely honest. Why am I telling you this is the first part of this video? So it's really good to step back and realize a couple things. You know, even though I didn't have any tools at that particular time, I still could stand it without having any tools. So think about what I just said. I could stand the anxiety, the sensations, all of that without having any tools whatsoever. Excuse me. I had no tools. I didn't know anything. And I still stood it. I remember we had to wait 3 hours to be brought into the first examination. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, 3 hours. I'm going to freak out. I'm going to have a panic attack in front of all these people from different schools. Because this way national boards was people that I didn't even know. I'm like, all these people are going to know I'm losing my mind and stuff like that. So that just goes to show you what you can go through when you don't even have any tools attached. Now, when I met Rob, things got really bad. I had a very, very severe video game addiction, as many as you know. I was playing up towards 100 hours a week. There was times I was playing for 36 hours at a string, which was insane to think about. The chair I'm sitting in right now, 36 hours sometimes without basically moving, out of control. Basically because when I was playing video games, it was my biggest avoidance compulsion. I had no anxiety. I felt free. I was so intertwined into the video game. Anyone that's a gamer, OCD sufferer or not, knows how addicting video games can be, especially if you have an addictive personality. So I was highly suicidal. I tried to take my own life a couple times. So I jumped out of a moving vehicle. Well, I didn't jump fully. I tried to jump. And that's when my wife called the police. And I had the police escort me to the mental hospital, which they had to put handcuffs on me. They explained, hey, look, you're not under arrest. We have to put handcuffs on you if you're going in the back of my car. So they handcuffed me and they brought me to the mental hospital. The first 30 hours I was in the pre-room before being admitted into the mental hospital. So it was an all-white room, nothing but a very, very small mattress padded on the ground with people who were really, really in bad shape. I had people in there that were obviously being detained, withdrawing from crystal meth. Psychosis was very, very present. People that would throw feces at the wall. And I was not used to an environment like this because before this, people know my personality. I'm very bubbly. I'm very happy. I'm very outgoing. So it was kind of a really, really big, excuse my language, a huge mind fuck. I didn't know what was going on. They locked me in the room. The nurse practitioner came in and said, what's going on? I said, look, I can't stop thinking about my blinking. And you could tell she really didn't know. She took a case history. She really didn't know what I was saying. I could tell. I could see it in her eyes. When you're talking to someone and it's very blatantly obvious that they don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. She just didn't know. No big deal. So I was in there for 30 hours and I could stand that. So I want you to think about what I'm saying. Severe super chronic panic attack for 30 hours with severe chronic hyper awareness of my sensations because I was so afraid that if I noticed them for any longer, I couldn't stand it. But I could stand it. I could go through it. So was put into the mental hospital and I met some really cool characters. There was a kid in there who had bipolar, very, very bad, and split personality disorder, which was never seen that in person before. That was very interesting. Really nice kid. I met other people who, I remember my cellmate or roommate, you would say, had been on benzos for 16 years, I believe he said. I'm like, whoa. So they came in, they blatantly told me, they were like, you have bipolar, you're manic. I said, hey, look, no, I'm not. Again, they just don't know. The intern was in there with me. You guys have heard me tell the story. The intern was left in there with me. And when the doctor left, the psychiatrist, I was like, hey, look, do you know what's going on? She's like, I've never heard of anyone say the words, they cannot stop thinking about their blinking. I was like, yeah, me either. So, I remember a doctor in the hallway telling me, I could still see him. He, kind of put his arm near me and he goes, you just take the medication for 72 hours and you'll be gone. I said, I don't take antipsychotic medications, because they're so used to, think about the people that are coming in and out. And they took me away from where my school was to a not so good area of Daytona, which was weird to me. I don't know why they didn't take me to the one close to where I live. Not that it mattered at all, but it was just an interesting experience. I definitely met some very interesting characters. I ended up having to stay a day longer than I needed to or legally supposed to. So I was in there for 96 hours, basically trapped not trapped, but in an area with people who were really, really mentally suffering and were withdrawing from drugs. Excuse me. So that was a huge, you leave there, you can't really see it at the time. Sometimes one of my favorite quotes is from Steve Jobs. It's impossible to connect the dots moving forward, but the only way you can connect the dots is looking backwards. You just have to trust in faith or whatever you believe in to guide you to where you're going to go. This means trusting in the process of OCD recovery, learning unconditional self-life, other acceptance, moving with uncertainty, dealing with those uncomfortable sensations. The large part of OCD recovery is actually sitting with discomfort. It's not disputing beliefs, which we've talked about. I'm not going to cover that. That's covered in multiple videos. The majority of the journey is being uncomfortable with being comfortable. A large part of the journey is being comfortable with being uncomfortable for sometimes an extended period of time. And that's not easy to accept in the beginning. This is why it takes time and practice. So I left the mental hospital. I graduated school and moved to Florida. This is where my video game addiction got real bad. My wife almost left me. I was not the nicest human. I had a lot of anger beliefs. I yelled at her a lot. Not proud of that, but I can accept that if that's the state I was in. And she was very, very understanding. If any of you have not watched the videos of my wife, I am extremely fortunate to have a lady in my life or anyone in my life that understands to the degree that she can understand what I was going through. So that helped in my own perspective. My family members were very, very harsh on me, which is okay. I came from a very old school Italian background where, you don't talk about your emotions and stuff like that. And that really wasn't the most ideal situation for me. But, I still had my health. I still came from a good monetary background. I still got the things I wanted and stuff like that. And I graduated with a doctorate. And, that's a cool accomplishment to show you that, there's a lot of people that tell you that you need to take off time from work. And while this is a case-to-case scenario, in my opinion, 99% of people should not be taking off of work or don't need to be taking off of work. It's now turning into avoidance behavior. And you might be thinking, well, when I feel just right, I'll go back to work. The reality is there is not going to be a right time. You more than likely need to go back to work and get yourself back in. It doesn't matter if you start part-time, but start moving towards that healthy life structure. So I was playing video games multiple hours a week. I wasn't going to work. And I had the cops called on me again. I was so suicidal and so manic that usually police officers come in twos in situations like that. They had to bring a third. I remember being upstairs in the bedroom, crying at 4 o'clock in the morning. The one police officer was downstairs playing with Daisy. That was really funny. And the other two were in there, and they knew I was visibly upset. I remember saying suicidal ideations to them about their weapons, that if I got my hands on them, that I would take my own life. So that was a really, 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 really rough moment for me, to say the absolute least. But I came out of that moment too. I've run away multiple times. A lot of people don't know that. Rob might be the only one who knows that. If any of the moderators hear this, they might not hear that. I've run away for hours at a time and turned my location off, leaving my wife absolutely in distress and hopeless. So this disorder can really bring you to the bottom of the bottom. I've been there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been there. I have been severely suicidal. I have been chronically latched for every single moment that I am awake with no hope. But I got through those moments. It took time. Again, connecting the dots backwards now, it really had a lot to do with me sitting with discomfort and realizing that it's not the fear. The core fear is what needs to be addressed for almost all chronic OCD sufferers at the levels that we were suffering. Oliver was suffering. I was suffering. Jade was suffering. Hannah was suffering. Lisette was suffering. We needed to look at Sophia, Phil, Sam, all the people that's done videos. You needed to look at that core fear. A lot of people tell you, don't look at the core fear. Thoughts are thoughts. Rob has talked about that very recently. Great tool, can be a great moving process further along in recovery. In the beginning with chronic severe fears that can't be unlatched like that, like POCD or real event or false memory OCD or somatic OCD, because you're already exposing yourself. I remember thinking to myself, I'm already exposing myself every single second of the day. This exposure isn't going to do anything for me. I have to look at my fear. Same thing I'm doing right now with my body dysmorphia fears. It doesn't matter what the routines I do. I don't accept myself for who I am, and that's something I've been working on. I've made great progress. Same thing with my anger. So I started the business with my wife. This is the last story. Started the business with my wife. Excuse me. And that was total freak out central, as you can imagine. Having to pay myself, working multiple jobs. I worked in the restaurant 4 days a week. I drove food delivery 7 days a week. And I worked in my business 7 days a week while making videos for Rob. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just telling you that this is what I did in order to get our business off the ground. We'd opened for 10 months. And that was a huge adversity to me because I still was very severely chronically suffering within the first 6 months of that practice. I had COVID in November, going into Christmas. I had 2 kidney stone surgeries last year that really flared up my anxiety and somatic awarenesses. I told the doctor not to give me hydrocodone because I have an addictive personality, and I was taking them behind my wife's back. I did not end up snorting them, but I got very close to. I just want to be as real with you as I can be. I think this is really important to be very transparent about my journey. So, and that's what happened to me. We started the business, and my low frustration tolerance was really, really low. I didn't think I could see all these patients or not have a routine. When you own a business, this isn't about just owning a business, but in life and any job, Rob said this today in his video, throughout your day, hundreds of things are going to be thrown at you that you didn't expect. And it's the way that you respond to those that really is going to dictate your path in the future with recovery. This is really, really, really important. I didn't think I was going to be able to have a high-pressure job like this, doing rehab stuff, doing diagnostic, reading imaging studies, MRIs, and stuff like that. I didn't think I was capable of doing that. Now, looking back, I could do all that while I was extremely suffering. Many of you know I am a big hiker. I just hiked my first 14er last weekend, so I hiked 14,000 feet in the air, which was pretty intense. I know Daisy is barking right now, so we're going to go for a little bit of a walk. So Let's look at the dogs real quick. Come on, guys. What you barking at? Let's see where Milo is. Come here. Stop barking. Come inside. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing about this video. I just want to talk about some of the really big hardships that I've been through and where I've come. So, where I'm at now. So, like I said, I was highly suicidal for a long time. I've had a few suicide attempts, you could say. I got really addicted to video games. I started the business, and I did all that while I was really anxious. I went hiking, big mountains I remember when I first started hiking, like 9,000 and 10,000 foot mountains, which is about 2 miles in the air if you live at sea level. Now, as you know, oxygen is really low. So think about somatic OCD. My oxygen is lower, or there's less oxygen up that high. And I'm chronically anxious, and I still did it. So you could do a lot of things. As you could watch his videos. Oh, I don't want to say his name wrong. Hufred with dystonia and OCD, winning Ironmans and marathons. He had chronic OCD and dystonia, so which is unbelievable. Huge inspiration to me. But you could do lots of things. We're all going to have hardships. There's a guy at my gym who competes at very, very high level bodybuilding. He has CP, cerebral palsy, which is anoxia, lack of oxygen to the brain when you're born. He has very low function of his lower body, and his hand is kind of stuck like this, and he's in terrific shape. So you could do a lot of really cool things, you know? Again, we all have hardships, and these are the hardships I've been through. Starting a business was very, very difficult for me, but I still was able to overcome that. Going to the mental hospital was the low for me, and I still was able to overcome that. There is hope. Hardships can be overcome. They take time and persistence. As Rob talks about, if anyone is telling you about quick fixes, I highly recommend you to be very cautious about that. I was the definition of quick fixes. What you guys see in my videos now is me toned down a decent amount. I realized just how much I cared about other people, what they thought about me, and needing to be funny all the time. I still like being a funny guy, but I don't need to be a funny guy. I could be a mute if I wanted to. So this is why the journey with chronic OCD takes a little bit to overcome. We'll end the video with Milo down here. We're going to see Milo. Look at him. What are you doing, Milo? Did you get say hi to the camera? You get some kisses? Give me a kiss. Come kiss. Okay, I got one kiss. And then Daisy's outside. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe down below and have a great day.